Shiny object syndrome is kind of the final boss of you finally getting good at those things that you want to get results in. I don't think it's really our fault these days because there's so much information, there's so much going on that we don't want to miss out on things. So I'm going to lay out what worked for me. And as usual, there's no science and studies. It's just my experience, and then you can draw from that what you need. So let's get started. What if you are learning the wrong things? Or what if there is a better way to learn it? This is probably one of the biggest reasons that we have shiny object syndrome, and honestly, these are rational fears. There's two main reasons in my opinion. There's more, but there's two main ones that we have it. And number one is that we really value our time. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I notice that we're often looking for the optimal way because we don't want to waste time. However, it's kind of backwards because we waste a lot of time looking for the optimal way. And this isn't a bad thing again, so don't feel bad if you're doing this. It's just a natural process that once you're aware of, you can start to overcome it. And number two, we are unknowingly the victim of false promises. YouTube in particular, there's so many videos these days that promise you the fast and the easy way or the effortless way, dreaming in Spanish and sleep and learn Japanese overnight and all this other weird stuff, or learn this instrument in 20 days. You know what I'm talking about. These videos, I believe, are one of the reasons, at least in my case, one of the reasons that we're afraid to take a video that we already have, or one of the 20 videos that we already have, and actually take action on that. It's sad that I really even have to mention this, but YouTube is kind of that place now where it's not really about getting you results anymore. It's more so getting you to click the video, getting the ad revenue, and then I can go do whatever I want. Fast learning does exist, but it's not easy 99% of the time. And easy learning does exist too, but it's not fast. So whenever you see both, understand that's probably not true. And I don't want to sound like that guy on YouTube, but I understand that this is something that's really gotten me plenty of results in my life by just discarding all those kinds of materials. So I would really like the same for you all. So let's address the point now. Let's say you did learn something the wrong way or the slow way. Here's how I frame it, and I call it like a learning checkmate. I don't know if you guys play chess, but a checkmate, if you don't know what that is basically you can't do anything without losing. But it's in a reverse sense. So in this case, a learning checkmate to me is whatever you do, you're doing the right thing. And there's only one wrong answer, which is not taking action. So let's go over it. Number one is whatever you have, you will probably need it later on, even if it's not apparent right away. Number two, if you don't need it later, at least you know you don't need it. Number three, you probably would have spent that time looking for a perfect video or course that doesn't exist anyways. Number four, if you do stumble upon the better way someday, you will already be further ahead than if you didn't learn anything at all by looking around for more videos. And as a bonus, in my experience, learning the wrong thing actually primes your brain to be way more attentive to the right thing. This is just my experience. I don't have any science to back that up, but I noticed if I did learn the wrong thing, whenever I found the right thing or a better way, I tend to just pick it up extremely fast. The only incorrect thing to do here is nothing, not taking action, or continuing to look around for more videos, or pile up that watch later playlist that's probably at 1,000 by now. I know this sounds like one of those really corny quotes, but any movement is better than no movement. It's really true though. I call it different routes, same destination. And I'll say this again later, but take your time with this. This isn't gonna go away right away. You're still gonna naturally be inclined to look around for more things or some really perfect course. But once you're aware of it, you can start to get away from that side of things and get over to the side of action more. But don't think that during this video or right after this video that you're magically just gonna change over and never make any mistakes again. That's probably not gonna happen. The next point would be lack of clear goals. I don't mean this in the negative sense, but more so in the directional sense of just having goals. I believe one of the reasons we look around so much, at least in my case, is that we don't know exactly where we're going. And I'll use my guitar journey as an example, but I want you to think about whatever you like to do. I really didn't have this issue in guitar playing, unlike I did with other things, because when I learned guitar, my only goal was to play the songs that I heard in video games and anime. That was pretty much it. So if it wasn't rock or metal or something like that, I really didn't care about it. Therefore, anything outside of this, my brain pretty much deemed it as useless. Acoustic, I didn't even have an acoustic guitar for the first 7 years of playing guitar because I only wanted to play the stuff that I heard in video games and anime. And the same thing applied with language learning. When I learned Japanese, I didn't care about grammar, I didn't care about kanji, reading, writing, any of that. I only cared about understanding native speakers and speaking fluently so they can understand me. I use the other things in tandem with listening and speaking only to help that. But otherwise, I really didn't care about that. And I bring these up to say it really gave me a clear direction, and anything else that popped up that I felt was not really going to help out what I was doing, I just discarded it right away. It was very easy to discard it because I had extremely clear goals. So for you, I would say take whatever you're trying to do, rather than saying I want to be a good guitar player or I want to speak Japanese or whatever. If you want to make that more specific, I would recommend doing that. Maybe you want to play country music, or if you're into music, maybe you want to learn EDM producing or something. I don't know. Just make it a lot clearer. That way you're not really going to be looking around for other things. The next reason is programmed impatience. I kind of mentioned this earlier when I talked about clickbaiting on YouTube and things like that, but I wanted to bring it up again because it does make us impatient, at least for me. Again, most of this stuff is just my experience, and I hope you can draw something from it. I noticed I would see something like, hey, learn this in 5 weeks. And if I didn't have that result in 5 weeks, despite what they were saying or what I was doing, I kind of felt a little out of place or like I was doing something wrong. And I want you to understand a lot of these titles and timelines, they're just made up, and two, they actually put a lot of fear inside of you. So I would say try to stop listening to those kind of things, because as long as you're moving in the right direction, you'll get there. Again, this is also one of those things that's going to take a while to adjust to, because you may have years of internet stress and people lying to you with these clickbait titles that you have to overcome. But you will eventually. I did, and I'm sure a lot of you will, maybe sooner than you think. The next one is just plain curiosity. Now, this is not a bad thing. I think it's really good. I bring it up to say, whenever you do get curious, try to get curious after you take action. So for example, if I sit down to play guitar for an hour and a half, I want to get my guitar playing out of the way first, and then maybe 15 minutes after that, I look around to see if I can find something that's cool to add it to my list. But I don't want to be spending a lot of time just being curious to the point where I'm not doing anything. Curiosity is not a bad thing. I just think you really need to schedule it for the right times, preferably after you take action. Maybe at the end of the day, maybe pick a day in the week to be curious and find more videos, but the other days of the week, you're not looking for anything else and you're just taking action. The next one would be low frustration tolerance. And this is simply not being used to dealing with extended periods of discomfort. Now, I talked about a valley of learning a new skill in one of my videos about having too many interests. And unfortunately, the valley is where you'll have to deal with a lot of frustration tolerance or frustration. Like learning guitar. Yes, it's fun, it's great, but the entry barrier is kind of hard. Your fingers hurt, your hands don't know what to do. You can think about something, but your hands cannot compute, and you're kind of malfunctioning. The more you can learn to get through this and just push through a little bit, the better off you'll be. I just bring this up because sometimes, again, the internet will tell you it's supposed to be easy and effortless and all that. Now, you guys know I'm not a grind set guy. I'm not one of those alpha male, whatever you call it. But there is a point where you need to understand that frustration is a part of the process. However, on the other side of that is a lot of creativity you can unlock and a lot of good results that you can unlock. So make an effort not to abandon the plan when you start to feel this frustration, because it's normal. I deal with it. Everyone deals with it. It's just something you have to get through over time. I actually had a video I made a while back about how to make difficult tasks feel easy. Feel free to check that out. I talk about something called a threshold, and how you basically just practice raising the threshold. And then over time, things that used to feel difficult won't really feel that bad anymore. But check that out some other time. The next one is fear of missing out, FOMO. This is more of a long-term sense rather than short-term. So say you're along the process of learning something from a video you have and you're like 5 months into it and you may think that a lot of other things are coming up or there's a better way. Don't get too frustrated by this because it's a very normal feeling. I bring this up to say you want to acknowledge that it exists. You want to acknowledge that you do kind of fear missing out on some new material that may have popped up while you're on your journey of learning something. But then you want to get right back to what you're doing. I say this a lot, but I'll say it again. There's no correct way to learn something. This is one of the biggest things that I think we all should realize as people who want to learn things. There's no correct way. Everything I've learned it different from everyone else who's learned the same thing. Okay, some other things to consider. This is very simple, but does the person you are listening to have results? On the internet, it's kind of easy to sound like you know what you're talking about, but not actually know what you're talking about. And I really want you to make it a point to look at the person, look at what they have, look at what they're showing and say, is that what I want? And if not, go find someone else. This includes me. I can read as much books or theories or studies as I want, but if I'm not really doing anything or I don't have results, you probably should just go find the person who's done the work and listen to them. Now, if there are concepts you can draw from their experience and attribute it to something else, please do that. Like, I don't speak Arabic, for example, but I do speak 2 other languages. And so I can tell you concepts of learning a language that you can attribute to Arabic, but you still may want to go find someone who speaks Arabic. I hope you're getting what I'm saying here. The next one is always gauge whether or not something is leading you to your main goal or not. This is worth mentioning again because I know for me, sometimes I can get caught up and start to veer off into a different direction and then I forget where I'm supposed to be going. So just try to put it somewhere in your notes or a sticky note or whatever in your Notion or Google Docs, what your main goal is, and continue to reference that anytime you go take action or anytime you go find some new material. Always keep that in mind. Another thing to do is to add resistance to things that don't really help you out. So I'll bring up my example of something I do. I don't keep social media on my phone. I have Instagram, I have all that, but I don't keep it on my phone because I know myself. I know I'm gonna press the button and check and end up scrolling reels and all that. So I literally remove it from my phone and I only download it when I want to use it and then I take it back off. I have to do this, otherwise I'll just get caught up on Instagram or something. Same with my phone in general. I actually put it in a bag and I put it in a box and I put it in the other room in my house to just not be on it. So I can practice piano or guitar or something else without really being distracted. This is just something I have to do because I notice I can get really, really good results if I just have nothing else distracting me. Especially if you guys have ADHD, this may help you out tremendously because now you don't have something to task switch to. Now, you don't have to do what I do and go extreme. I just know myself, and I would say take the time to learn yourself. Whatever distracts you, whether it's Twitter, social media, Instagram, even YouTube, figure out what that is and try to add some resistance to it. Something I also do with YouTube is when I'm watching something, I put it in full screen. That way I don't look at the comments, I don't look at suggested videos, I'm not just kind of surfing around. I just put it on full screen and I put my hands together and sit there and watch the video. Again, these are not rules. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not gonna put some weird limitations on you. I just know myself, and this has helped me get extremely good results in all my areas without really stressing too much. And the next one is that this will always be a battle. I don't think there's a cure to shiny object syndrome, especially because, it's so much information being put out these days. But as long as you keep these concepts in mind and you make an active effort to apply these to your life, you'll pretty much be okay. Even some comforting background about myself for you. I play piano a lot these days, but I bought my first piano several years before I even opened the box. And I'm not joking, it literally sat in the box, taped up, untouched. The piano couldn't collect dust because the box was collecting the dust that should have been on the piano because I didn't open it. I mean, for several years, it just sat there. And I made a lot of excuses to not play it. I didn't have the right course. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have time, blah, blah, blah. Same with Japanese. You know, a lot of you know I've lived in Japan for a decade. But for the first several years, I didn't really speak any Japanese. I knew the bare minimum to eat food, get around, and like ride the train. But that was it. However, these days I have a lot of results in these areas because I've just applied pretty much what I tell you. So don't feel bad if you've wasted years or you feel like you've let this kind of overcome your life. You can pretty much get rid of it in the span of a few months, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's longer, maybe shorter, but eventually you can overcome this. That's pretty much it though. Much like all my other videos, come back and reference this when you need it. This is a lot to take in, and you'll probably need to take notes or just come back and watch the parts that you need whenever you need them. Feel free to do that. And if you have not already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, or I will send this chain chomp to come get you. And if you found this helpful, you can also like the video. Helps out the channel and grows this community a bit and gets it out to other people that need to see it. In a minute, I'll have a video here, I think here or here. I don't know. It'll be somewhere on the screen about how to teach yourself anything from the internet, and another video about having too many interests. Or you can do what I really want you to do, and that's get off the computer and go practice or take action on whatever you already have. The rest of this video is just going to be me playing guitar and piano, so leave whenever you want. Love you guys, and see you in the next one.